My name is Fatima, and I'm telling you my story because it's all I have left. I'm 22 now, sitting in a small room in Jordan, safe at last. But my heart still carries Yemen, the smell of my mother's cardamom coffee, the sound of the adhan echoing through our town, the laughter of my little sister, Aisha. I want you to know me, to feel what I felt, because maybe then you'll understand why I risked everything. It started 5 years ago, when I was 17 in a small town near Sana'a. Back then, I didn't know my world was about to break apart. Our house was simple, made of sun-baked bricks, with a courtyard where Mama grew mint and jasmine. Every morning, the call to prayer woke us, and I'd kneel beside Mama and Aisha on our prayer rugs, the soft fabric worn from years of use. My father, Baba, was a respected man, always at the mosque, helping with charity or teaching boys to recite the Quran. He was strict but kind, his eyes softening when he brought me dates from the market. "Fatima, my heart," he'd say, "you'll make us proud." I wanted to, so badly, but deep inside, something was stirring, like a seed buried in the dark, waiting for light. I wore the niqab like all the girls in our town. It covered everything but my eyes, and sometimes I felt like it hid me from myself. At school, we studied math, Arabic, and the Quran, but I loved the moments when our teacher, Salem, let us talk about life. One day, in a quiet corner of the schoolyard, my friend Salma whispered something that changed everything. "Fatima," she said, her eyes darting around, "have you ever wondered if there's more to God than what we're told?" I froze. In Yemen, asking questions like that was dangerous. Apostasy, leaving Islam, could mean death. But Salma's words stuck, like sand in my shoes after a walk in the desert. Salma was different. She was brave, always sneaking books from her uncle's shop, reading things we weren't supposed to. That day, under the shade of a date palm, she handed me a crumpled piece of paper. "Read this," she whispered, "but hide it." I stuffed it into my abaya, my heart pounding. Later, alone in my room, I unfolded it. It was a Bible verse in Arabic, written in Salma's neat handwriting. "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." The words were from someone called Jesus. I didn't know him, but they felt like a hand reaching out to me, soft and warm. I hid the paper under my mattress, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. Life went on. I helped Mama cook. Lamb stew with rice, flatbread we baked in our clay oven. I teased Aisha about her love for Yemeni honey, her giggles filling the house. But at night, when everyone slept, I'd lie awake, my mind racing. Why did those words make me feel so alive? In the mosque, I'd learned Allah was merciful but distant, watching us, judging us. We prayed 5 times a day, fasted in Ramadan, gave zakat to the poor. It was our life, our honor. But sometimes it felt heavy, like a stone on my chest. I started to wonder, was God really so far away? Could he love me, not just judge me? Salma kept sharing things. She'd send me secret messages on my phone, links to websites about Christianity. I'd read them in the dark, my thumb trembling as I scrolled. The phone was my only window to the world. Baba didn't let us use it much, but I'd saved up to buy data in secret. I learned about Jesus, how he taught love, even for enemies, how he died for people's sins. It was so different from what I knew. In Islam, we were taught to submit, to follow rules perfectly, but Jesus seemed to invite me to know him like a friend. I was scared, but I couldn't stop reading. One evening, Salma texted me something bold. "There's a meeting tonight. Come." My stomach twisted. A meeting meant other Christians, people like Salma hiding their faith. In Yemen, being a Christian wasn't just forbidden, it was dangerous. The Houthis, the militia controlling our area, watched everyone. Neighbors spied on neighbors. If anyone found out, I could lose my family, my life. But something pulled me, like a voice saying, "Go and see." I told Mama I was visiting a friend to study, my voice shaking. She nodded, busy with Aisha's braid, and I slipped out into the night. The meeting was in an attic, above a shop that sold spices. Salma led me through alleys, past men chewing khat, their cheeks bulging. We used a code word, salam, to get in. Inside, 6 people sat on cushions, their faces half lit by a lamp. There was an old man, a woman with a baby, a boy my age. They welcomed me, their smiles kind but nervous. The old man, Abu Yusuf, read from a hidden Bible, his voice low. He spoke about Jesus walking on water, calming a storm. I felt my heart lift, like I was in that boat, safe with him. They sang a hymn, so quiet it was almost a whisper. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. I didn't know the words, but tears filled my eyes. When I got home, I crept into bed, my mind spinning. I wanted to tell Aisha, to share this joy, but I couldn't. She was only 14, too young to understand, and I was afraid she'd tell Baba. Instead, I prayed to Jesus for the first time, my voice barely a breath. "If you're real," I whispered, "show me. Keep me safe." I felt something, peace like a warm blanket over my heart, but fear came too, sharp and cold. In Yemen, leaving Islam wasn't just a choice, it was a crime. I'd heard stories, girls beaten, locked away, or worse, taken by militias. My town was small and eyes were everywhere. If anyone found out, I'd lose everything. Days turned into weeks. I went to more meetings when I could, sneaking out after Maghrib prayer when Baba was at the mosque. Each time, I felt closer to Jesus, but also farther from my family. Mama noticed I was quieter. "Fatima, what's wrong?" she'd ask, stirring coffee in our tiny kitchen. I'd smile, say I was tired, but my heart ached. I loved her so much, her hands, rough from washing clothes, her stories about her own girlhood. I loved Baba's laugh, Aisha's chatter, but I couldn't share my secret. It felt like betraying them, like I was tearing our family apart. One afternoon, in the market, I saw something that made my blood run cold. A man was shouting, pointing at a woman in a black abaya. "She's a kafira," he yelled. "She read their book." People gathered, muttering, throwing stones. The woman's face was hidden, but her sobs cut through me. Soldiers came, Houthi men with rifles, and took her away. I stood frozen, clutching my basket of tomatoes. Salma pulled me aside, whispering, "That's what happens, Fatima. Be careful." That night I couldn't sleep. The woman's cries echoed in my head. Was that my future? Still, I kept reading, kept praying. The Bible app became my lifeline. I'd lock my door, read verses about love and courage. "Do not fear, for I am with you," one said. I wanted to believe it, but fear was always there, like a shadow. I started to feel like I was two people. The Fatima who prayed with her family, who wore the niqab and smiled at neighbors, and the Fatima who loved Jesus, who dreamed of a God who saw her heart. I didn't know how long I could keep them separate. One night, I made a choice. I was alone, the house quiet except for the hum of crickets outside. I knelt by my bed, not on a prayer rug, but on the cold floor. I spoke to Jesus, my voice shaking. "I believe in you," I said. "You're my savior. I'm yours." It felt like a vow, like stepping off a cliff. Joy filled me, but so did dread. I was a Christian now in a place where that could mean death. I hid my phone, crawled into bed, and pulled the blanket tight as if it could protect me from what was coming. Looking back, I see that moment as the start of everything, my heart's light, my fire. I didn't know then how much I'd lose, how much I'd suffer, but I also didn't know how strong I'd become or how Jesus would carry me through. That night, I was just a girl, holding a secret bigger than myself, praying for courage in a world that felt ready to crush me. I used to think love could hold a family together, no matter what. I'd watch Mama knead dough for our bread, her hands steady and feel safe. I'd listen to Aisha hum songs from the radio, her voice bright as the stars over Sana'a, and believe nothing could break us. But when my secret came out, I learned love can bend, twist, even shatter under fear. I'm telling you this, whoever you are, because I need you to know how it felt to lose everything for what I believed. In 2023, after turning 18, my world fell apart. The months after I gave my heart to Jesus were like walking on a tightrope. Every day I played two roles: the dutiful Muslim daughter who prayed with her family and the hidden Christian who read the Bible on my phone at night. I'd lock my door, pull the blanket over my head, and open the app Salma showed me. The words were my anchor. I am the way, the truth, and the life, Jesus said. They gave me peace, but also fear. Yemen wasn't a place for secrets like mine. The Houthis were everywhere, their checkpoints dotting our town, their eyes watching for anyone who strayed. I'd seen what happened to that woman in the market, dragged away for reading their book. Her sobs still haunted me. I got bolder, maybe too bold. Salma kept inviting me to secret meetings in attics or basements where we'd whisper hymns and share stories about Jesus. Each time, I felt his presence, like a warm hand on my shoulder. But getting there was terrifying. Sneaking past neighbors chewing khat, their voices loud in the alleys, or dodging Baba's questions about where I'd been. Studying, I'd lie, my heart pounding. Mama started watching me closer. "Fatima, you're quiet," she'd say, stirring lamb stew, the smell of cumin filling our kitchen. "Are you sick?" I'd shake my head, forcing a smile, but inside I was breaking. I wanted to tell her, to pour out my heart, but I knew she'd never understand. Aisha was the hardest. My little sister, only 14, was my shadow. She'd braid my hair, giggling about boys at school, or beg me to sneak her Yemeni honey from the market. We'd lie on our roof at night, counting stars, and I'd feel so close to her. But I couldn't share my secret. She was too young, too loyal to Baba's rules. I thought I was protecting her by keeping quiet, but I was wrong. It happened on a Thursday, the air thick with the smell of frankincense from Mama's burner. I was in my room, reading a verse on my phone. "Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake." I didn't hear Aisha come in. She was supposed to be at Quranic class, but there she was, staring at my screen. "Fatima, what's that?" she asked, her voice sharp. I fumbled, locking the phone, but her eyes were wide, hurt. "Is that the Bible?" The word sounded like a curse in her mouth. I begged her to stay quiet, tears stinging my eyes. "Aisha, please, it's not what you think." But she backed away, shaking her head. "You're reading their book," she whispered, like I'd betrayed her. I thought she'd keep my secret. She was my sister, my heart. But fear is stronger than love sometimes. That night, I heard her crying to Mama in the kitchen. "Fatima's reading bad things," she sobbed. "She's not one of us anymore." My stomach dropped. I wanted to run, to explain, but before I could, Baba stormed into my room. His face was stone, his eyes burning. "Show me your phone," he demanded. I hesitated, and he grabbed it, smashing it on the floor. "Kafira," he shouted. "Infidel." The word cut like a knife. He slapped me hard and I fell, my cheek stinging. "How could you shame us?" he yelled. Mama stood in the doorway, tears streaming, clutching her tasbih beads. "Fatima, why?" she whispered. They locked me in my room, the bolt clicking like a prison door. I heard them arguing downstairs, Baba's voice loud, Mama's soft and broken. Aisha didn't come near me. I sat on my bed, hugging my knees, praying to Jesus. "Help me," I whispered. "Don't leave me." I felt him there, but the fear was louder. I knew what happened to girls like me. In our town, apostasy wasn't just a sin, it was a crime. Neighbors talked, and the Houthis listened. I'd heard whispers of girls taken, beaten, or worse, for less than what I'd done. The next morning, Baba came in, his face hard but his hands shaking. "Recant," he said. "Say you're Muslim and we'll fix this." I wanted to, for him, for Mama, for Aisha. I loved them so much it hurt. But when I opened my mouth, the words wouldn't come. Instead, I heard myself say, "I believe in Jesus." Baba's eyes widened like I'd stabbed him. He grabbed my arm, dragging me to the courtyard. "You're no daughter of mine," he said, his voice breaking. Mama sobbed, pulling Aisha close. My sister wouldn't look at me, her face buried in Mama's abaya. I thought that was the worst of it, losing them. But then the trucks came. It was dusk, the adhan calling from the mosque. I heard tires crunching outside, then boots on our doorstep. Men in green scarves, Houthi militiamen, burst in, their rifles glinting. "Where's the kafira?" one shouted. Baba pointed at me, his face blank, like he didn't know me. Mama screamed, but they pushed her aside. They tied my hands, rough rope biting my skin, and blindfolded me. I heard Aisha crying, "Fatima!" But no one stopped them. They dragged me outside, the cool night air hitting my face, and threw me into a truck. The engine roared, and my home, my family, my life faded into the dark. I don't know how long we drove. Hours, maybe. The blindfold was tight, the air thick with dust and fear. I prayed silently, "Jesus, be with me." The truck stopped, and they pulled me out, my legs shaking. They took off the blindfold, and I saw a compound, high walls, barbed wire like a prison. Men with guns stood everywhere, their faces hard. A man stepped forward, tall with a beard and cold eyes. "I'm Omar," he said. "You've shamed your faith, your people. You'll answer for it." His voice was calm, but it scared me more than Baba's shouting. I wanted to scream, to run, but my body wouldn't move. They pushed me into a cell, a small room with a dirt floor and one high window. The door slammed shut, the lock clanging. I sank to the ground, my niqab damp with tears. I thought of Mama's hands, Aisha's laugh, the way Baba used to carry me on his shoulders when I was little. They were gone now, and I was alone. I pulled my knees to my chest, whispering a hymn Salma taught me. "Amazing grace, how sweet the sound." The words were shaky, but they kept me from breaking. Omar came the next day. He sat across from me, a table between us, his rifle leaning against the wall. "You've read their book," he said, like it was poison. "You've turned from Allah. Why?" I didn't know what to say. I was trembling, my throat dry. I found peace," I whispered. "Jesus loves me." His face twisted like I'd insulted him. "You're a traitor," he spat. "Recant or you'll suffer." I thought of the woman in the market, her sobs. I thought of Jesus on the cross, suffering for me. "I can't," I said, my voice barely audible. "I believe in him." He stood, his shadow falling over me. "You'll learn," he said. Then he nodded to a guard who grabbed me. They took me to another room, darker, colder. The guard hit me, once, twice, my head spinning. Pain burned through me, but I didn't scream. I prayed instead, silently, "Father, forgive them." It was all I had left. They left me there, bruised and aching, the door locking me in darkness. I curled up on the floor, my body shaking, but my heart held tight to Jesus. I didn't know how long I'd survive, but I knew I wasn't alone. That was the start of my fire. The moment I lost everything, my family, my home, my safety. But it was also when I learned what faith really means. It's not just words or prayers. It's choosing to hold on even when the world turns against you. I didn't know what Omar would do next, or if I'd ever see Aisha again. But as I lay there, in that cold cell, I felt a small light inside me, like a candle that wouldn't go out. It was Jesus, and he was all I had. Darkness has a way of swallowing you whole, like you're sinking into a well with no bottom. In that cell, I learned what it meant to be truly alone, yet never alone. It was 2023 and I was 18, locked in a Houthi compound somewhere in Yemen. My family was gone, my home a memory, but my faith was a tiny flame flickering in the dark. The cell was small, with a dirt floor that smelled of damp earth and fear. A single window, high up, let in slivers of light, just enough to remind me there was a world outside. The walls were rough, scratched with marks from others who'd been here. I wondered who they were, what they'd done. Were they like me, caught for believing in something forbidden? The guards gave me a thin mat to sleep on, a bucket for a toilet, and a cup of water with stale bread once a day. My body ached from the beatings, my cheek still swollen from that first day with Omar. But the pain in my heart was worse. Losing Mama's smile, Baba's pride, Aisha's laughter. My sister's face haunted me, her voice saying, "You're not one of us anymore." They wanted me to break, to say I was Muslim again, to spit on Jesus. Omar came often, sitting across from me in that cold room, his eyes like knives. "You're young, Fatima," he'd say, his voice smooth but cruel. "You can still save yourself. Recant." I'd shake my head, my throat too tight to speak. I remembered a verse Salma taught me. If God is for us, who can be against us? It was all I had to hold on to. Each time I refused, the guards would come. They'd hit me, sometimes with their fists, sometimes with a stick. They'd pull my hair, drag me across the floor. They did things I can't say, things that left me curled up, sobbing, feeling dirty and broken. But I wouldn't let them touch my heart. I'd pray, whispering, "Jesus, stay with me." And somehow, he did. The worst wasn't the pain, it was the shame. In Yemen, a woman's honor is everything. If you lose it, you're nothing, not even human. I felt like I was betraying Mama, who'd taught me to cover my face, to be pure. But Jesus' words kept coming back. "You are clean because of the word I have spoken to you." I clung to that, like a rope in a storm. I wasn't clean in their eyes, but in his, I was enough. One day, they brought another prisoner to the cell next to mine. I heard her crying, soft and broken, through the wall. At night, when the guards were gone, we whispered through a crack. Her name was Maryam, and she was like me, a Christian, a convert. She was older, maybe 30, with a voice gentle but tired. "They took my children," she told me, her words heavy with grief. "My husband divorced me when he found out. The Houthis came after." Her story broke my heart. She'd lost everything for Jesus, just like me. But she wasn't angry. She was strong. "He's worth it, Fatima," she whispered. "He's with us, even here." Maryam became my light in that dark place. We'd talk at night when the compound was quiet except for the wind rattling the barbed wire. She told me about her life before, how she'd been a teacher, how her son loved drawing birds, how she'd found Jesus through a secret radio program. She taught me a new hymn, "What a Friend We Have in Jesus," and we'd sing it so softly the guards couldn't hear. Her voice was shaky, but it held me together. I told her about Aisha, how I missed her giggle, how I wished I could explain why I chose this path. Mariam listened, then said, "God sees your heart, Fatima. He'll carry your love to her." I cried then, not from pain, but from hope. The guards didn't like us talking. They'd bang on the walls, shouting, "Shut up, Kufar." But we found ways, tapping codes, passing notes on bits of cloth. Mariam gave me a verse to memorize. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." I'd repeat it when the guards came, when the pain was too much. It was like Jesus was walking beside me, leading me through that valley of death. Mariam and I prayed together, not out loud, but in our hearts. I felt her strength, and it made me stronger. But Omar wasn't done with me. One day he came to my cell, his face different, not angry, but proud, like he'd won something. "You're stubborn, Fatima," he said, leaning close, "but I'll fix you." He told me I'd marry him, that it would cleanse my sin, make me his. My stomach twisted. In our town, marriage was sacred, a bond of love or family. But this was a chain, a way to own me. I wanted to scream, to fight, but I was so tired, so weak. "You can't refuse," he said, smiling. "It's Allah's will." The marriage was no wedding. It was a nightmare. They dressed me in a white abaya, not the embroidered ones girls wore at home, but plain, like a shroud. They took me to a room with a few men, their rifles slung over their shoulders. An imam read words I didn't hear, my mind numb. Omar stood beside me, his hand heavy on my arm. I thought of Mama, how she dreamed of my wedding day, with henna on my hands and music in the air. This was nothing like that. I felt like a ghost, trapped in my own body. But inside I prayed, "Jesus, you're my true husband. Don't let me forget." After, they took me to a new room, not a cell, but still a cage. It had a bed, a curtain, and Omar's things, books, a prayer rug, a knife on a table. He came at night, and I won't tell you what happened. It's too heavy, too raw. I'll only say I felt like my soul was being torn apart, like I was no longer me. But even then, I whispered to Jesus, "Stay with me." And he did, in a way I can't explain, a peace that didn't make sense, a strength that kept me breathing. I decided then I wouldn't let them win. They could hurt my body, take my honor, but they couldn't take my faith. I started watching, listening. The guards talked when they thought I wasn't listening, about raids, supplies, fights with government forces. I noticed one guard, Bilal, younger than the others, maybe 20. He was different. His eyes weren't as hard. Once he slipped me an extra piece of bread, his hand shaking. I hid it, not eating it, but keeping it like a treasure. I started talking to him, small things like, "Thank you," or "Is it sunny outside?" He'd nod, looking away, but I saw something in him, doubt, maybe, or guilt. Mariam noticed too. "Be careful, Fatima," she whispered one night. "He could help, or he could hurt you." But I felt a pull, like Jesus was guiding me. I kept the bread, wrapping it in a cloth, and started hiding other things, a spoon from a meal, a nail I found in the dirt. They were small, useless maybe, but they felt like hope. I'd hold them at night praying, "Show me a way out." Mariam and I made a plan, whispering through the crack. We'd watch for a chance, an open gate, a distracted guard, anything. "We'll escape together," she said, her voice fierce. I believed her, because she believed in me. The days blurred, each one a battle to stay whole. The guards kept coming, their fists and words bruising me inside and out. Omar kept talking about saving me, but his eyes were hungry, not kind. I felt like a bird in a cage, wings clipped, but still dreaming of the sky. Mariam was my strength, her whispers my lifeline. We'd pray together, silently, our hearts joined. He leads me beside still waters, I'd think, picturing a place where pain couldn't reach me. One night after Omar left, I lay on the bed, my body aching, my heart heavy. I thought of Aisha, wondering if she missed me, if she felt guilty for telling Baba. I thought of Mama's coffee, the way she'd hum while cooking. I wanted to hate them for giving me up, but I couldn't. I loved them too much. Instead, I prayed for them, asking Jesus to soften their hearts. It was hard, forgiving them, but it made me feel lighter, like I was letting go of a stone. The chapter of my life in that compound was the darkest, but it taught me something. Faith isn't just believing, it's choosing to believe, even when everything screams at you to give up. I was bruised, broken, shamed, but I wasn't defeated. I had Mariam, my sister in faith, and I had Jesus, my savior. And I had a spoon, a nail, a scrap of hope. I didn't know how, but I knew I'd fight to see the light again. I learned in that dark compound that hope can be as small as a spoon, as fragile as a whispered prayer, but strong enough to pull you through hell. It was 2024, and I was 18, maybe 19. I'd lost track of time in that cell. The world outside was a war, with bombs and hunger tearing Yemen apart. But inside me, a different war raged. I was fighting to stay alive, to keep my faith, to hold on to the light I'd found. The compound was a cage, its barbed wire glinting under the sun, its guards watching every move. Mariam and I had been planning for weeks, whispering through the crack in our cell's wall. We had a spoon, a nail, a cloth-wrapped piece of bread. Small things, but they felt like weapons. Bilal, the young guard, was our hope. He was different, his eyes softer, like he didn't belong with Omar's men. I'd thank him for water, ask about his day, anything to make him see me as human. Once he lingered, muttering, "This isn't right." I saw a crack in him, like light through a broken wall. Mariam warned me to be careful, but I prayed, "Jesus, use him. Show us a way." The chance came on a night when the sky roared. Airstrikes, government forces hitting Houthi targets, shook the compound, dust falling from the ceiling. The guards were shouting, running, their radios crackling. I heard Bilal's voice outside my door, nervous. "Fatima," he whispered, slipping me a key through the bars. "Go now, the gate's open." My heart raced. I didn't know if I could trust him, but I felt Jesus nudge me like a hand on my back. I grabbed the spoon, the nail, my courage, and waited for the next explosion. When it came, the ground shook, and I heard boots fading down the hall. I unlocked my door, the key trembling in my hand, and ran to Mariam's cell. She was ready, her face pale but fierce. "We do this together," she whispered, gripping my hand. Her fingers were cold, but her eyes burned with hope. We crept through the shadows, past rooms filled with guns and crates, the air thick with smoke. The open gate was ahead, unguarded, just like Bilal said. I wanted to thank him, but there was no time. We ran into the night, the desert stretching before us, vast and terrifying. The air was cold, the sand sharp under my bare feet. I'd lost my shoes somewhere in the compound, and Mariam's abaya was torn. We didn't speak, just ran, our breaths loud in the silence. The airstrikes lit the sky, orange flashes guiding us, but also showing us to anyone watching. I prayed, "Jesus, hide us." We ducked behind rocks, hid in dry riverbeds, moving when the bombs stopped. My legs burned, my lungs ached, but Miriam kept me going. "We're free," she whispered, her voice shaking with joy. I wanted to believe her, but fear was heavy, like a stone in my chest. We didn't get far before we heard them. Trucks, their engines growling. The Houthis were coming. Miriam pulled me down behind a dune, her hand tight on mine. "Stay low," she hissed. Headlights swept the desert, and I heard Omar's voice, sharp and angry. "Find the kuffar," he shouted. My heart stopped. If they caught us, it'd be worse than before. Death, maybe, or something slower, crueler. I thought of Mama, her hands kneading bread, and Aisha, her giggle like music. I'd never see them again, but I couldn't go back. I whispered to Miriam, "We keep going." She nodded, her eyes wet but strong. We ran again, the desert endless, the stars cold above us. Miriam started to slow, her breaths ragged. "I'm fine," she lied, clutching her side. I saw blood on her abaya, dark in the moonlight. She'd been hurt, maybe in the compound, maybe from a fall. "Miriam, let me look," I begged, but she shook her head. "No time," she said. "Keep moving." I wanted to scream, to stop, but she was right. The trucks were closer, their lights like eyes hunting us. I put her arm around my shoulder, half carrying her, my own body screaming with pain. "Jesus, give me strength," I prayed. We reached a village at dawn, a cluster of mud houses, quiet except for a rooster crowing. Mariam was heavy now, her steps stumbling. I knocked on a door, my heart pounding. An old woman answered, her face wrinkled like a dried date. I begged for help, my voice breaking. "Please, they're after us." She hesitated, then pulled us inside, hiding us in a back room with sacks of rice. "The Houthis come here," she whispered. "Stay quiet." She gave us water and a rag for Miriam's wound, but her eyes were scared. I knew she was risking everything for us, a stranger's kindness in a world of fear. Miriam's breathing was weak, her face gray. I cleaned the wound, a deep cut on her side, oozing blood. "You'll be okay," I lied, tears falling. She smiled, faint but real. "Fatima, you're my sister," she said. "Jesus brought us together." She hummed our hymn. What a friend we have in Jesus, so soft I barely heard it. I sang with her, our voices trembling, holding each other in that tiny room. I prayed for a miracle, but her hand grew cold in mine. "Go on without me," she whispered. "Live for him." I shook my head, sobbing. "No, we're together." But her eyes closed, and she was gone, her face peaceful like she'd found the still waters she loved. I don't know how long I held her, crying into her abaya. The old woman touched my shoulder. "You must go," she said. "They're coming." I didn't want to leave Miriam, but I heard trucks outside, men shouting. I kissed her forehead, whispering, "I'll see you in heaven." The woman gave me a scarf to cover my face and pointed to a path behind the village. "There's a man, a smuggler, 2 miles north," she said. "He helps people like you." I nodded, my heart breaking, and ran, Miriam's hymn echoing in my head. The desert was cruel, hot by day, freezing at night. I walked for hours, my feet bleeding, my stomach empty. I had no food, no water, just the nail and spoon in my pocket, useless now. I thought of Miriam, her strength, her love. I thought of Aisha, wondering if she prayed for me. I prayed for her, for Mama, for Baba, even for Bilal, who'd risked everything to help us. "Jesus, lead me," I whispered, my voice dry as the sand. I felt him, not in a big way, but small, like a breeze telling me to keep going. The smuggler was waiting in a ravine, a thin man with a truck that looked ready to fall apart. "You're the Christian girl," he said, not unkindly. I nodded, too tired to speak. He drove me through back roads, past checkpoints, hiding me under blankets when soldiers passed. He didn't ask questions, but he gave me water and dates, sweet and sticky like the ones Baba used to bring. I wanted to cry, to thank him, but I was numb. At one stop, another man joined us, saying the Houthis were close, searching for a runaway. I prayed harder. Hide me, Jesus. The journey took days, maybe a week. We crossed mountains, slept in caves, moved only at night. Once, a smuggler betrayed us, demanding more money we didn't have. I thought we'd be caught, but the first man argued, shoving him away. "She suffered enough," he said. I don't know why he fought for me, but I saw Jesus in him, in his rough hands and tired eyes. Finally, we reached the border with Jordan, a line in the sand that meant freedom. The smuggler stopped, pointing to a camp in the distance. "Go," he said. "You're safe now." I stumbled across the border, my legs giving out. I fell to my knees, the ground hard under me, and sobbed. I was free, but I'd lost so much: Miriam, my family, my home. The camp was crowded, full of refugees like me, their faces hollow with stories I'd never know. A woman in a headscarf gave me bread and a blanket, her smile kind but sad. I sat under a tent, the desert wind cold, and prayed. "Thank you, Jesus, for saving me, but why not Miriam?" I didn't understand, and maybe I never will, but I felt him there in my tears, in the sunrise painting the sky gold. I was in Jordan, alive, but my heart was heavy with grief. Mariam's face, her voice, her faith, they were with me like a light I'd carry forever. I'd escaped the compound, the Houthis, Omar's chains, but I hadn't escaped the pain. I thought of Aisha, wondering if she'd ever forgive herself for telling Baba. I thought of Mama's coffee, Baba's laugh, the life I'd never have again. But I also thought of Jesus, how he'd walked with me through the desert, through the dark. I was broken, but I was his, and that was enough to keep going. I'm safe, but safety doesn't erase the scars. I carry Yemen in my heart, the smell of Mama's cardamom coffee, Aisha's giggle, the desert wind that carried me to freedom. I carry Mariam too, her voice singing hymns in that dark cell. I'm telling you my story because I want you to know how I found light again, how Jesus held me when I thought I'd break, and how I learned to live even after losing everything. When I crossed into Jordan, I collapsed, my body empty, my heart heavy. The refugee camp was a maze of tents filled with people like me, eyes hollow, stories silent. A woman named Hannah, her headscarf bright with flowers, gave me bread and a blanket. "You're safe now," she said, her smile soft. I nodded, but I didn't feel safe. I felt lost, like a leaf torn from a tree, floating nowhere. I'd escaped Omar, the Houthis, the compound, but I couldn't escape the memories. Miriam's cold hand, Baba's angry eyes, Aisha's tears. At night, I'd wake up screaming, seeing Omar's face, feeling the ropes on my wrists. I'd pray, "Jesus, take this away." But the pain stayed, sharp as a knife. Hannah took me to a church, a small building hidden in a back street of Amman. I was scared to go. After the compound, any place felt like a trap. But when I stepped inside, I heard singing, soft and warm, like the hymns Mariam taught me. What a friend we have in Jesus. The sound wrapped around me like Mama's arms when I was little. The pastor, a man with kind eyes named Sami, welcomed me. "You're home here," he said. I didn't believe him at first. Home was Yemen, with its markets and minarets, but that home was gone. Still, I kept going to church, sitting in the back, listening to stories of Jesus healing the broken. Each time, I felt a little less alone. The church became my family. There were others like me, Yemeni refugees, some Christians, some not. A woman named Layla, who'd fled the war, taught me to sew, her fingers quick with needle and thread. She'd laugh, saying, "Fatima, you're better at praying than stitching." I'd smile, my first real smiles in months. A boy, Yusuf, who'd lost his parents, drew pictures of birds, like Mariam's son. I'd watch him, remembering her, my heart aching but grateful. These people didn't know my story, but they loved me, and that love felt like Jesus's hands holding me up. But healing wasn't easy. Some days I'd sit in my room, a tiny space with a mattress and a cracked mirror, and see a stranger staring back. My face was thinner, my eyes older, like they'd seen too much. I'd dream of the compound, of Omar's voice, of Mariam's blood on my hands. I'd wake up crying, my prayers shaky. Why her, Jesus? Why not me? I felt guilty for surviving, for breathing when she wasn't. I felt angry too, at Baba for turning me away, at Aisha for telling, at the Houthis for stealing my life. But anger was heavy, and I was tired of carrying stones. Pastor Sammy noticed my quietness. One day after church, he sat with me, a cup of mint tea between us, the steam curling like smoke. "Fatima," he said, "Jesus carried your pain on the cross. Let him carry it now." I shook my head, tears falling. "I can't forget," I said. "Mariam, my family, they're gone." He nodded, his eyes gentle. "You don't forget. You forgive. It's not for them, it's for you." His words stayed with me like a seed planted in hard ground. I didn't know how to forgive, but I wanted to try. I started working with an aid group, helping refugees like me. We gave out food, blankets, sometimes just a listening ear. I met a woman, Zara, a Yemeni Christian who'd converted years ago. She'd been beaten, disowned, but now she smiled, her faith bright as the Jordan sun. "God uses our pain," she told me. "Your story can help others." I didn't believe her at first. My story felt like shame, not strength. But I started sharing it, bit by bit, with women in the camp. I told them about Jesus, how he'd walked with me through the desert, how he'd loved me when I felt unlovable. Their eyes would light up, or they'd cry, and I'd feel Mariam's spirit with me, urging me on. One night, I sat down with a pen and paper, something I hadn't done since Yemen. I wrote a letter to Aisha, my hand shaking. "Dear Aisha," I began, "I miss you. I miss your laugh, the way you'd steal my honey. I know you told Baba because you were scared, because you love me. I'm not angry anymore. I'm a Christian now, and Jesus taught me to forgive. I pray you'll understand one day that you'll know he loves you too. I'm far away, but you're still my sister." I didn't send it. How could I? I didn't know where she was, if she'd even read it. But writing it felt like letting go of a weight, like breathing after holding my breath too long. Forgiving Baba and Mama was harder. I'd lie awake, remembering Baba's slap, Mama's silence when the Houthis took me. I wanted to hate them, but I couldn't. I saw Mama's hands, rough from washing clothes, and Baba's smile when he brought me dates. They'd acted out of fear, not hate. I prayed for them, night after night, asking Jesus to soften their hearts, to let them know I was alive. It didn't erase the pain, but it made it lighter, like a wound starting to heal. One day, I went to a garden near the church, a quiet place with olive trees and wildflowers. It wasn't Mariam's grave. She'd been left in that village, her body unclaimed, but it felt like a place to honor her. I knelt in the dirt, the sun warm on my face, and prayed. "Mariam, you were my sister. You showed me how to be brave. I'll live for you, for Jesus." I cried, but they were good tears, like rain washing away dust. I felt her with me, her hymn in my heart. What a friend we have in Jesus. The church asked me to speak one Sunday to share my story. I was terrified. My voice was small, my hands shaky, but I stood in front of them, men and women, refugees and locals, their eyes kind but waiting. "I'm Fatima," I said, my throat tight. I was a Muslim, but Jesus found me. I lost my family, my home, my friend Mariam. I was hurt, shamed, but he never left me. He carried me through the desert, through the dark. He's my light, and he can be yours too. My voice broke, but I kept going, telling them about the compound, the escape, Mariam's love. When I finished, people were crying, clapping, praying. Pastor Sami hugged me, saying, "You're a light, Fatima." I didn't feel like one, but I felt Jesus, strong and close. Now, as I write this, I'm watching the sunrise over Amman, the sky gold and pink like a promise. I'm still healing. Some days the nightmares come, or I'll smell coffee and miss Mama so much it hurts. I carry scars inside and out, but they're part of my story. I'm not the girl who knelt in Yemen, torn between two worlds. I'm Fatima, a Christian, a survivor, a daughter of Jesus. I don't know if I'll ever see Aisha, Mama, or Baba again. I pray for them every day, hoping they'll find the peace I've found.